Welcome to the Two-Ton Nerds. As always, my name is Max James, and in this episode of the TTN Presents, I will be talking about and reviewing Quentin Tarantino's ninth film, A Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Now, this is a spoiler-free review, so I will not be talking about or revealing what happened at the end, but I do want to talk about the ending as in the sense of how we as an audience who were watching this movie reacted. When the ending finally was going on in the theater, for a 10:30 showing in the morning, it was pretty decently packed, but it felt like a whole theater was full. The whole theater was full because the way what transpired in the ending, we were all just into it. We were laughing. A few of them were hooting and hollering. It was a really good ending, and it was it was so well done, and it was fun. The ending it was so satisfying. So that's all I'm going to say about that. So my initial reaction when the final credit rolled up on the screen was that it was good. It was so good. Like the acting, the music, the directing, the writing, this whole movie was just so good. But I do have to say that it's definitely not for everybody. But if you're expecting along the lines of even what's it called, Django and Hateful Eight and a little bit of Inglourious Basterds, you're going to be disappointed. But it's more along the lines of Pulp Fiction and Jackie Brown, end of his filmography. So, which Jackie Brown is my favorite. But it's still good. It's still really, really good. And I'm going to tell you what you need to know about this movie. First up is the plot. The plot of the movie follows Rick Dalton and Cliff Booth, who are played by DiCaprio and Pitt. They are on the tail end of their career because DiCaprio is the actor and Brad Pitt is playing the stuntman, and they're a duo. So, if one doesn't work, the other doesn't work. And so it really kind of falls on DiCaprio finding work so Cliff Booth can kind of work along his movie counterpart, Rick Dalton. So, but they just kind of taken a couple days of Hollywood, meeting agents, and I know that kind of sounds boring, but it's really good because Al Pacino's in it, and he's playing this agent who is trying to help DiCaprio find work, and just kind of rehashing some of the glory days of this character, and kind of making his character kind of uncomfortable. And the one thing the trailers do not accurately depict is that DiCaprio's character, Rick Dalton, kind of has a stutter. He kind of is not as confident as you see on screen. And that's when I was really taken back by this guy is a little not quite his on-screen persona and his off-screen is two very different things. So I'm oh, that's really cool. I like that a lot. That little nuance of him just kind of stumbling over his words is really cool. So, and throughout this movie, there's also kind of a running thread of these hippies kind of moving around Hollywood, and as well as Sharon Tate, who's played by Margot Robbie. And if you know anything that had happened to Margot Robbie, what had happened to her, and at the end of her life, you know what this movie is building up to, and it's just oh wow. But Quentin Tarantino puts his stamp on it, and it's just it's really, really good. So, what else is there to say? The music, the editing. The editing can be kind of jaunting at times because it kind of does these quick cuts here and there, and that kind of threw me off a little bit. But overall, I think the editing was pretty decent, but it was more the cinematography that really makes this movie shine. The way the camera moves, the way the look of the film and stuff like that. But when I go back to talk about the editing real quick, but I'm talking about, there's a scene in the movie where DiCaprio and Timothy Oliphant are talking, and it kind of just has these like really quick jump cuts, and I do not like that whatsoever. It just felt so out of place in this movie, and so that was really my biggest nitpick about it all. It was just this little like 10-second scene that had some terror. Like me, I just don't like those kind of editing techniques. Jump cuts can be done really well, and when done well, they work perfectly. But this just didn't feel right to me. So, I'm going to talk about what the biggest character in this entire movie was: Hollywood, 1969 Hollywood, and I was just sitting there wondering how they pulled this off, how they made this movie look like 1969 Los Angeles, and it was just so great. It felt like 1969 Hollywood, like everything from bus billboards to just the cars, just to the look of everything. It was just like, oh wow, this was just done with extreme care. And speaking of done with extreme care, Margot Robbie's character, Sharon Tate, it was done really well. Because she was a real character. I mean, a real person in real life. There are real people in this movie, like Roman Polanski, Steve McQueen. So, there's even scenes taking place at the Playboy Mansion. So it's like there's real stuff going on in this movie, even though it's fictional. It's kind of like a little bit of Inglourious Basterds, it's like Adolf Hitler, like that whole kind of stuff going on in that movie. So it's kind of like it's fictional mixed with real life. So that's kind of what I really liked about this, and it's done with extreme care. So that's really all I gotta say. I cannot wait until this movie comes out on home release, because this will be a day one for me, and I will spend the extra money if there is a steelbook. So that's really all I gotta say. I had such a great time going to see this movie in the theaters. I hope you guys do too. But remember to click subscribe, hit the bells for any future notifications when my videos become uploaded. And as always, my name is Max James, and I'm going to go geek out.